Okay, a loud clap, like a cheerleading clap. Action one. In South Mississippi, where I grew up, the weather predictions change by the hour. If you roll out of bed in the morning, the weather prediction is almost sure to change by the time you eat your mid-morning snack. It may be 40 degrees in the morning, 80 degrees in the afternoon, and back down again to 30 degrees in the evening. In John 16:33, our focus verse for this course, Jesus says to his disciples, "I've said these things to you that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." What he doesn't say here is that it's cloudy with a chance of trouble. Did you catch it? Jesus says that we will have trouble. Unlike the weather predictions in South Mississippi that change by the hour, this prediction is unfortunately assured. It's almost a promise. And we like to think about the promises of God as good things, don't we? It's hard for us to look at this and think, yes, trouble is a promise of God. But fortunately for us, there are multiple promises in this verse. Yes, Jesus is promising that we will have trouble in this world, that is our reality on this side of heaven. Since the fall of creation, things are not as God intended them to be. But at the same time, in the same breath and in the same sentence, Jesus promises us that he is with us, that we can have peace and joy in him, and that he ultimately has overcome the world. Sure, this sounds nice, but when the storm clouds well up and the rain starts to pour down, do we see this truth in our lives? If I'm honest, I'm normally still pretty surprised when trouble shows up in my life. I know Jesus tells me that it's coming, but I am often still taken aback, left in surprise or shock when life throws me something that I don't quite expect. Often, in the midst of hurt, the last emotion that I feel is cheerfulness or joy. Maybe you find yourself in the opposite place. Your life maybe has been full of disappointment and hardship, and you have been stuck in a pattern of sadness for so long that you would be surprised if something good came your way. And that's the beautiful thing about the words of Jesus here. They meet us wherever we find ourselves, whether we're happy or sad, joyful or sorrowful. Jesus commands us to be of good cheer because he has overcome the world. To understand this statement and how it impacts our lives today, let's look a little deeper into what Jesus was really saying. The Greek word for cheer that Jesus uses in this passage means more than a holiday cocktail or a chant that we yell from the side of a football field. It is defined as full of cheer, calmly happy or well off, to be well, to be glad, to rejoice joyfully. It's the same root as the Greek word for joy, which is used throughout Scripture. And these words are so similar in meaning that they can actually be used interchangeably. Calmly happy, as described in this definition, sounds a lot to me like peace. And in verse 33, right before Jesus says, "Be of good cheer," he says, "I have said these things so that in me you may have peace." So what we can conclude from this is that cheer, joy, and peace all go hand in hand. This definition also says that to be cheerful is to be well. And who wouldn't like to be well? Wellness is a hot topic in our culture right now, isn't it? And we chase it in all kinds of ways. I found out this week that my yoga studio has changed its name to be a wellness clinic. We look for wellness in all areas of our lives. And Jesus tells us here that cheerfulness and joy are big tickets to becoming fully well. Over this course, we're going to unpack and uncover how this cheer, joy, and peace that Jesus is describing becomes real to us. He says it's ours to grab onto, but so often we don't experience it in our lives. Sometimes we are tempted to think that if we follow Jesus, our lives will be easy. But our reality is, cheerfulness is a challenge. What cheats us from experiencing the cheer that Jesus has for us? What is it that steals our joy? There are tons of things that we could discuss, but most would fall into a few categories, what I like to call the 4 C's that cheat us from cheerfulness. The first is challenges. The second are connections. The third is comparison. And the fourth is control. We will dive into each of these and then discuss how we can choose cheer wherever we find ourselves.